That didn't work. Trying to get this. Oh, here we go. I had it all planned out, and it failed. Oh. Decided to go live tonight. See what's going on. Hopefully some of you out there are having a good... Was it Tuesday? It is Tuesday. Some of y'all are having a good Tuesday night tonight. In a hotel room. The truck is in the shop for the moment. Getting a bunch of work done. Hopefully you guys are staying warm out there. It's been a little cold, but we're gonna get a warm up for a couple of days at least. Went and saw the aftermath of all that wreck on I-80. That was a mess. They were getting all that cleaned up as I was going through there yesterday. But yeah, the truck's in the shop, but it's nothing serious. We're just getting all the services done. I got a service on an APU. I got service on the truck. I got a tire that keeps going flat. Bunk heater quit working. That was one of the main things. And I had a cab airbag leaking. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just a constant rotation. We already got the windshield fixed and the shocks and stuff like that. So, one of the things I'm gonna start looking into here soon is there's been a bunch of lawsuits lately about lease companies, guys leasing trucks. Been a bunch of lawsuits. I found that kind of interesting. So I'm interested to see what that all comes up. Basically, it's just guys getting not classified right as in leasing as they are. They're being classified as a company rather than owner operators. They're being misclassified. I guess that's the word, if that is a word. So I'm going to be looking into that here soon. Christmas is coming up, and I don't know if I'm going to be working Christmas or not. I will figure that out this week, I guess. I probably better figure it out this week. Usually I'm home on Christmas through New Year's, and I do some videos, and buddy of mine likes my cooking videos I do over Christmas. He said, "You gonna do a cooking video?" I said, "No, I don't know." He said, "Well, it's funny." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because it's basically just an hour watching you get crocked." But I quit drinking, so hey. Don't know how a cooking video with me not drinking is gonna work out. So we're probably going to work Christmas. I'm hoping I can get something I would love to find a good epic load. It seems like whenever I work Christmas, it's either incredible or like one year I got stuck at the I-55 in Bolingbrook. If you've ever spent time at the I-55 in Bolingbrook, it's spectacular. So spent one Christmas and New Year's down south. That was nice. Where was I? I was down in Georgia for that one. But I'm just hoping I can find someplace nice and warm I can spend Christmas at. This company really doesn't go down to Florida. So yeah, the food tastes different because I'm not screwing it up because I'm liquored up. I'll tell you, the food started tasting a lot better when I quit smoking, and I changed my diet and started trying to be healthier. And when I got more adjusted to a more natural diet, sweet things that really weren't sweet before got really sweet. It was really weird because I wasn't used to the sugar and all of that. So, uh, but I've been doing, like, when I go home, I do a lot of homemade cooking because I eat so much crap out here. I mean, they got these next door. They got these thin crust pizzas at the bar next door, and they are. If you're ever in Sioux Falls and the Red Eyes open next door, go over and get a pizza. They're really good. They make them here in Sioux Falls, so yeah, they're frozen, but they throw them in a pizza oven, and they're pretty good. Uh, about the only time I eat pizza anymore. I'm gonna So hopefully we get my truck. Should be out of the shop in the morning, and we'll start heading off to the next adventure. They announced Power Tour this year, so I think I'm gonna do that. So I'm looking forward to that. Probably be the last year for the black and white car. I think we're gonna go ahead and sell that, and hopefully I'll have the '88 sold. I've got an '88 GMC and get that sold, and uh, get enough money scraped up, and I can take the Torino in and have that. I would love to take that down to some place like cruising the coast. You know, I work a lot, but sometimes you got to take a little time off and have a have enjoy yourself. That's one of the things at my last job that uh, I didn't get to do much. So even as an owner operator, they still would only give me so many days for vacation, and I was like, wait a minute. I remember one day it clicked. I remember thinking, wait a minute. I'm an owner operator. Why are you telling me I only get the same vacation as a company driver? Those are the kind of things that are getting lease companies who do leasing sued. Uh, I guess there's a whole host of them that's happening now, and I'm gonna look into that here soon. Write out a bunch of notes. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of leasing, and I've talked about this at nauseum. And it's not you guys, it's not the drivers, it's the because you guys got the same dream everybody else does, and I'm smart enough to recognize that. You guys want to own a truck, you want to be the boss, you want to do all these things that you've heard all these stories about. I get it, same way. Uh, it's these companies taking advantage of your willingness, and they're exploiting your dream for their own benefit. That's your dream. That's not theirs. And I think that's important to remember that. If you have a dream, go for it. I want all you guys to be successful. I know a few guys that have made it on lease programs, but they they lost a lot. A lot of the guys that have made it actually find a loan and they buy their truck out, and then they go off and do wonderful things. So I don't know why I'm yawning. I'm not really all that tired. Uh, but we're here tonight. We're in Sioux Falls. But hit up another museum. I've got a couple in mind. I would love to go down to the Savoy down there in Georgia. I believe is that Georgia or Florida? I forgot. I would love to go down and see that. We've got a couple of interesting little museums. You think the air capital of the world, Wichita would have a decent air museum. It does not. Uh, we've got a B-52 out there that they was at Boeing for years and years and sat on the edge of the runway. So one day they just hooked it to the tug, turned it around, and drug it over there, and it became part of the museum. Uh, if you ever see that Wings Over Rockies museum out there in Denver, that's actually a funny story. They got the B-52 out there in the F4. That was Lowry Air Force Base, and that was one of my grandfather's last duty stations when he retired. And so that B-52, they flew that in. The F4, they flew that in. Well, after years, they tore up the runways, and the city got around smaller, and the Air Force Base got smaller. And truthfully, Buckley Air Force Base was just right over there. It was on the other side of Stapleton. So you had basically three airports, two air bases, and an airport within, 8 square miles. It was like all crammed together. But when they abandoned Buckley, or when they abandoned Lowry Air Force Base to close that down, I remember driving my car through there. I was out visiting my mom. I drove my car out through there, and on the end of the old tarmac by an old hangar, the B-52 was there. It was just one of those things that was so big they couldn't move it. So I guess who the powers that be decided that was a great place for an air museum. And by golly, they did it. They built one. I tried to get out to go see Big Brutus this year. And if you get out there towards Big Brutus, you're actually only about 25, 30 minutes from a Civil War battlefield. So that's kind of neat. There should be some interesting museums, hopefully, during Power Tour. It's going to be down Old Route 66, so that'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how that works out. Basically, they're going to start it in Joliet and then basically shoot it down and end it in Tulsa, and we're going to hit 5 total spots, is what it says. They announced it way early this year, so I don't think the registration's open for it yet, but it surprised me that they announced the tour this early. The Smithsonian, that would take, good grief. I've heard guys say you could spend 2-3 weeks in there and never see everything. The Air Museum at the Smithsonian would be what I'd be interested in. That and that. I love airplanes, and I love cars. I need to get back out there when I can get some time off out there, back at the Iowa 80 to the Truck Museum. I've been there once, and I did a short video on it a few years back. If you ever get a chance to get out there, they've got some incredible old rigs out there, and so that's pretty neat. And if you want to see something cool, if you're ever down in Tonka, Oklahoma, where the Loves is, you have Wilkins Chrome Shop across the street. And they have a junkyard out there, and they've got some phenomenal old rigs that they either part out or they restore, but those don't go to waste. One of the things is you can look online, and Wilkins did. They got a hold of the very last 359 glider that was ever built. That nobody ever built it. I saw a picture of it, a brand new 0 miles 359 glider, and they actually built it, and they've got pictures of it online, and it is awesome. A real 359 with 0 miles. It's the only time in your life you'll ever see a brand new one, if you were born after 1985, or is it 87? Either way. So yeah, that's kind of neat. They were going to start looking after Christmas. We're going to start looking for another truck. Hopefully I can do a little better than I did last time. I didn't take it all that seriously, and I was sitting there looking, and then suddenly the guy come up with the money, and then the truck was gone. So when the truck was gone, then I had to go find me another truck, and that was good grief, about the last week of August through September. Second week of October was when I ended up buying that yellow truck. It's been a good truck, but I think we're going to transition back to a Pete. I would love a 389, but truthfully, it's not practical for anything I'm doing right now. Unless I found the perfect deal on the right truck, we're going to be looking at 359s. Not an ultra loft. I'm going to get a mid roof. I don't. The condos are just useless to me. I don't like condos at all. Still don't like condos, and I own one. So we're gonna start looking for a truck here this next week or this next month. We do got an email. I keep trying to remember to put it on in the tagline of all the videos. So it's in the description. It's at missfurlowscat.com. It's a private joke that's really funny. But, I mean, if Weston Champlin can have Weston Likes Cake, I can have Miss Furlow's Cat. Well, he lives only about 40 minutes from me, and one of these days I would love to catch up with him because that's a dude who knows how to have some fun. So if you ever have watched any of Weston Champlin's videos online, dude's a nut. And he's a funny one, though. And stuff like that, I would love to be able to do stuff like that, but, well, that's not my lot in life. Not yet, at least. But, of course, I was talking to Red, and he was talking about his mom and all that, and I got looking at his mom, and I was like, I think I know her from somewhere. And if I do know her from somewhere, I don't want to know where I know her from, because it wasn't church. Anyhow, so we're just chilling out on a Tuesday night to see what everybody's doing. We just have some fun tonight. It was just kind of impromptu. The winter's been there's been no middle ground. It's either been just nice and pleasant or just cold as crap. This last round, I actually beat the storm. I beat the first storm. I got out of that. I beat this storm, but I ended up in Indianapolis. And that's where I was basically delivering over in Yorktown. And I parked the truck, and about 2.5, 3 hours later, I've seen the first flakes, and next thing I know, the blizzard was there. And the stuff that hit the Midwest on Saturday, that was actually pretty intense over there. I was very grateful I was parked, because if I had not made it to Yorktown, I wouldn't have made that load at all. That was just absolute chaos. So yeah, we're just hopefully tomorrow I'm recapping some pretty good hours. I can get out of here and go find someplace. How's my coffee situation? Well, not good in the room. They got this little Hamilton Beach thing here. Makes single cups, but the truck stops next door, and I can go over and get some there. They call it gourmet roast. Nope. But it'll do all right. Like I said, I've still got that little coffee maker out in the truck, and it does everything I need it to do. The price of coffee these days, if you don't get free coffee at the truck stop. And truthfully, I would love to do a review on coffee at all the truck stops. But truthfully, I'll tell you what, when it comes to coffee fixins and all that, there's two that stand out. Believe it or not, Pilot has the best coffee. And if you go down south with the old Wilco's where they got the Dunkins inside, the Dunkins has the best fixins. So you get the Dunkins fixin', and the Pilot coffee actually comes out pretty good. But if you're up here in the Uh, well, and they got a couple here in Sioux Falls, the old the Quick Trips, the KWIKs, not the QTs, the Quick Trips and the Quick Stars, as are in Iowa and Illinois. Uh, they've got great coffee. TA does okay depending on where you're at. Love's Coffee's pretty good. I don't like the Insta Brew machines. I don't need a production, doggone it. I need coffee. I don't need fresh ground. I don't need any of that. I need coffee. The problem with the Loves is when it comes to like Splenda or Sweet and Low or Creamer for that matter, they are woefully lacking. So I carry all that stuff in the truck, and that helps. So yeah, I carry all that stuff in the truck. Just makes it better. Uh, and then I found out if I buy a lot of my drinks and stuff before I leave the house, I cut my budget in half on the road, so that helps. I used to try to do a lot of cooking and stuff out here on the road, but this truck I got no room for it. But then you just had the problem of cleaning up the mess and all of that. And truthfully, I mean, you making sandwiches and stuff out here. That's about all you can really do. Make yourself some sandwiches and whatnot, and hope for the best. Getting into WalMarts and stuff like that has actually gotten quite difficult, just because. Well, truck drivers have ruined it for truck drivers. You dump your trucks in the lot for a week and a half at a time. They throw their trash out there. They pee in the lot. They poop in the lot. They throw bottles of pee everywhere. And then they burn the locals, and the locals get tired of it. If any of you ever watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or even read the book more, one of the things Hunter S. Thompson said, never burn the locals. And truck drivers have done nothing but burn the locals. And the locals are tired of cleaning up after us. And, well, this is what you get. So, sucks, but most Walmarts now I run into, no overnight parking. A lot of them just won't even allow you there anymore. So, I get it. I was over at the Save a Lot DC, and don't allow parking over there anymore on along the street or anything. Huge fines for littering, and they actually have places for cop cars to park. It's designated police parking. They're enforcing it. They got $1,000, $2,000. I'd have to look. It was either $1,000 or $2,000 fines for littering. They're not screwing around, because people were parking out there, abandoning their trucks, throwing trash everywhere, and the locals got tired of cleaning it up, so they put a stop to it. And boy, howdy, they did. The old AWG in Memphis, the old affiliated. Of course, I think that was AWG. What a horrible place. That's a Yeah, don't get me started on them. If I'm offered a load, those are like the one loads I just turned down. I won't have nothing to do with them. Just because they're so truck unfriendly. They want you there at all hours of the night, and then tell you that you can't park there. You know. So yeah, these grocery warehouses, they want you in there at 2 and 3 in the morning, and I'm just not a fan of that. I understand that it counts my time in the barrel every now and then, but if I don't have to, I won't. But that being said, I mean, every now and then I just end up doing a lot of stuff I don't want to do, just because, well, sometimes you got to. Oh yeah. I like my job. I actually really do. It's a great job. Uh, but sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a rut because we kind of just do the same things in the Midwest. You know, I got yelled at, well, why don't you go out west? And I'm like, well, one, there's no money out west. And two, I don't have tire chains. And it's not that I wouldn't go out west, it's that I got no place to put tire chains. You know, and I just don't feel like spending 5 days on a load that's when I can get the same rate on a load that's only going to take me 2.5 days. So I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and I said, one of these company trucks sits around, you can absorb that into the cost of doing business. You can spread it out over all the trucks. I sit around, I'm just out, you know. I've talked about this before. What do these trucks need to make per day? And a lot of guys think I'm full of crap when I say this, but you need to make a minimum of $750 a day on these trucks. Ideally, my goal is to make $1,000 a day. 7,000 a week. You're like, ain't nobody doing that. I'm gonna tell you right now, we got owner operators out here that are making 10 a week, but they're hauling good freight and they're hustling. You know, uh, I know what I bring home, and I'm making. If I was to add all the fuel back in, what I'm grossing per week, it's 7, 8 a week, and I don't work that hard. Uh, but I'm also willing to do a lot of things a lot of guys aren't willing to do too. You know, certain people don't believe me, but hey, whatever. A lot of times when you get stuck in positions to where things start seeming more like a forced dispatch situation, sometimes you've got to time out and correct that before it becomes routine. Uh, that was a very hard lesson I learned at my last job. Was these people, they didn't care about the drivers. My last job, we were just blips on a screen to be moved around. And if they didn't get us moved around, we'd be there in the same spot in the morning. We were not human to them. And that became a real bad problem. And thankfully, this place I'm at now doesn't think like that. But when you're not human to the people that are dispatching you, there becomes a disconnect. Disconnect happens. Says I am live. Well, I was live. Oh, must have had a glitch. Sorry about that. If there was a, let me check something here. All right. Oh, so I guess maybe what I was saying is that when you become dots on a computer screen to be moved around and manipulated, it ends up being you end up being not a real person to the people on the other side of the computer. So if they leave you hanging at five o'clock in the afternoon, they don't care. They go home, they forget about you, and then they get mad when you're not in the same spot you were when they left you. And when I quit my last job, there was quite a few things that I made it very clear within my own mind that were not going to happen again. And one of the things was I own this truck. I understand that I have it leased on. I have somebody else's numbers, and I'm running their authority, their insurance, and their e-logs. I fully understand and respect all that. But at the end of the day, it's my truck, it's my business. I've got to do what's best for me. You do have to kind of find a little bit of a balance when it comes to working with people. But I'm not going to sit on that curb for 15 hours while you try to get your crap straight. Absolutely not. If you don't know what you're doing, and I know there's a truck stop 10 miles that way, hey, guess what? I'm going over there because I played this game too long to sit on a curb and wait on someone who doesn't have my best interest in mind, especially at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and they haven't got you anything, go find a place to park, because you're going to be loading in the morning. That's just rule of thumb. Now, if you're one of those guys that's happy sitting on the curb till the next day and you got everything you need, fine. I'm not going to knock you for that. But being ignored by the people that are supposed to have your best interest in mind is one of those things that just chaps me greatly. One of the things that I found interesting is that I've let a lot of the people that I work with in on quite a few things I've done. I don't talk a lot about it because that was then. But I've been all over this country. I've been downtown LA. I've been to the Bronx. I've been Houston to Duluth to Green Bay. I've been San Diego to. I didn't quite get down to Key West. I was about this close to getting a load to Marathon one time. But I've been all over this country. I've seen some neat things. I've done some neat things, and I encourage all of you guys while you're young to go out and see the world, see everything you can. This country has some wonderful places to see. I haven't been to New Orleans in a few years. It's been quite a few years, probably. New Orleans proper, or Nolans. This is probably '05. Been to Louisiana a bunch, but New Orleans proper probably since '05. In fact, New Orleans was where the first time I ever paid for a parking spot. And I remember asking the gal, it was $5. So why do you charge? She says, because if we don't charge, and this was a little truck stop in Kenner, I believe. She said, if we don't charge, this place will be jammed up with all the locals. Nobody will be buying anything, and you guys won't stop. Because they knew that road drivers came in and they would rotate through. This is before E-Log. Drop a few bucks and roll out. No, not after the hurricane. I missed Hurricane Katrina, but I got caught in Hurricane Rita. And that was weird, having every lane on I-45 northbound. Then trying to get off and the cop fighting with me. I actually got on 45 and realized this wasn't going anywhere. And the first chance I could get off, I took off and started heading west through the woods because I wasn't going through Dallas, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I was down there, and I've been in a few hurricanes. I've missed a few hurricanes, thankfully. But a friend of mine, she was in she in that tornado that hit that Love's a few years back, East Oklahoma City. She said they crammed them all into the walk-in freezer while the store collapsed around them. That was a good time. But no, I mean I was telling somebody was in the middle of a gangland fight, and I wasn't part of it, but it was happening next to me in College Park, Georgia one night. That was a good time. Got shot at in Birmingham. Actually got a bullet hole in the truck for that. Was privy to another gangland shootout in Little Rock one night. You know what's funny is I went to that Benny Keith in North Little Rock. That's where the gunfight happened. But to tell you the truth, that's probably one of the nicest facilities I've ever been to. Benny Keith has some nice facilities. I'd even after the gunfight, I'd still do that again. So yeah, Detroit. I stay out of Detroit. It's just best that way. Detroit got so violent there for a while that we had a company wide bulletin at my last job saying we were not allowed to go into Detroit after dark. So we actually would just go out to Dexter, Michigan Park, and then early the next morning we'd drive in, do our stuff, and get out. So yeah, that was we used to go down to Wolverine Packing down there all the time. That was always a mess. Just down was that down there off 51st and Mac. Used to go to Jersey a lot, and Jersey was a surprise. Jersey wasn't nearly half as bad as people make it out. I've never had a problem in Jersey. Philly was a little tight. Pittsburgh was a little tight. Yeah. Yeah. Pittsburgh was interesting. Pittsburgh was a really old city. There was a cold storage we used to go to down there called Allegheny Cold Storage right along the river. And it was really narrow to get back. But once you got in the back behind it, it really opened up and you could park back there for the night and watch the college the rowing teams practice up and down the river. That was interesting. But as long as it's daylight, you can wander around, and I wouldn't suggest getting too far. But they had a grocery store up the street, and you could get some food at. And but it was the first time I ever saw. I thought I couldn't understand why people were parking in the alley the way they were, and I realized it wasn't an alley; it was a street. It was such an old city. The houses were about this far apart. You had a stoop, and the stoop was in the street. And these weren't alleys; these were actual streets. I thought that just mind-boggling. Even after coming out of LA, this was even tighter than that. People lived. I mean, it's amazing. People just live everywhere. Uh, you ever been to the TA there? And I was at Binghamton, New York. I always thought that's funny. Is you got the TA, you've got the shop, but right in the middle there's a cemetery. There's a TA's built around the cemetery. Basically a cemetery in the parking lot right next to, what is that, US 11, I believe. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of funny. Google it; it's still there. They did build a Love's up around the corner. Um, but I always thought the TA was interesting because it was actually built around the corner from the interstate. It was on the old highway. And the old highways are always pretty neat. So if you can get on some of the old highways, you can still see some neat stuff. Um, so I actually had to go up to Marion, Indiana, and load last week and take it all the way to Lamar's, and missed that storm too. Inadvertently, I ended up in a funeral procession by accident. Uh, my only fear was I hope the guy didn't die in a truck accident. I looked at the time and I was like, well, it's shift change, because I saw the factory up there and people were just sitting there blowing the sign. But there was no funeral escort. They're just blowing. In fact, they're slowing down, looking, they're just blowing it. So I'm like, well, screw it. I'm coming this way. So I just kept going. Nobody stopped me. Well, next thing I know, I look and realize, oh crap, I'm in a funeral procession. And I couldn't stop because, well, I was in the middle of it. So I just turned my lights on with the rest of them. Uh, And when they all went into the cemetery, I just kept going straight. So if any of y'all are watching this, sorry. Next time, get a funeral escort. That would have saved a lot of embarrassment for everybody. But I took off out of there and cut across and ended up on US 24. And I took US 24 across Indiana and Illinois. Excuse me. Because I was going to hit Chicago at rush hour and I didn't feel like dealing with that. And let me tell you what, US 24, awesome drive. I recommend it. If you ever get a chance to go across it, it's great. Now, when you go into Illinois on 24, there's still a way station there for some weird reason. But still a great drive. One of these days, I mean, I got that email. I'd love to hear about other people's great drives. Just a few lines. Tell me what was a great drive for you. Yeah, anymore I do most back roads. Just the old highways. I just less stress. But like US or was old US 99, but it's California 99 going out of Bakersfield all the way up through Stockton. The difference it's weird. It splits off of 5, goes out, and it comes right back together up that way. If you have a choice between I-5 and 99, take 99. It is such a prettier drive. It is a nicer drive. 5 is just sterile and boring, but 99 is great. Let's see. 83 is an interesting drive, US 83. It crosses all the main interstates. You can go from Canada to Mexico without crossing a scale, I'll tell you that. Don't ask me how I know that. But when you get up in northern Nebraska, up in Valentine, I didn't realize there's wetlands up there. It's like a national park. It's a national wetlands area. It is beautiful up there. Valentine, Nebraska is like the gateway to the Badlands. It's incredible up there. The rest of Nebraska, you get down on 80, you can watch your dog run away for a week. I tell people, everybody who says Kansas is flat has never driven across 80 in Nebraska. You take a nap and never leave the road. Just boring. It is just mind-numbingly boring once you get west of York. What is it, York at 353? I go out to North Platte to that Walmart to the ones at the 179. So what is that? About 100.5, somewhere in there. Figure 2.5 hours. That 2.5 hours takes a week. It's just you go cross-eyed nuts. But I did take a really cool drive. I had to deliver I delivered in Moore, Oklahoma. Really, really nice place to deliver to. Rush hour in Oklahoma City sucks, but I made it through there, made it down to Moore. Well, I ended up having to go to a mine up there in Freedom, Oklahoma. And you get up there in the Badlands of Oklahoma. Oklahoma is incredible. People don't realize they've got high desert, Badlands, all sorts of stuff. They got the Ozarks out east. They got the high desert and the Badlands out west. And we was in some real hills, some real cool spots. I mean, it was one of those places. Freedom, Oklahoma is one of those places that if you're a fella that wants to get lost, that's where you do it. That's just a place where somebody goes who doesn't want to be found. Nice, beautiful drive. and went out there, and it was a salt mine out there, and they had a huge evaporation pond out there, and it was incredible. Just you go over a hill into a valley, and it just opens up in front of you, and there's this huge, beautiful blue lake out there, um, which is basically a brine pond, but from a distance, it looks like this huge sea that opens up. It's pretty wild. That's right off just south of US 64, and that was another cool drive. Um, I tell you, one of the craziest drives you'll ever do in Oklahoma. In fact, if you come out of Bartlesville, you're in the Ozarks, and you're going through the hills and the trees and all that, and you come up a hill out of it and plane out, and then suddenly you can see the mountains in your rearview mirror. You just literally just drove out of them. It's like they just cut it off. Suddenly you're just in the plains. It's so drastically different that you can see it disappearing in your rear view. It's not a gentle transition or nothing like that. It's like somebody just drew a line and said the Ozarks ends here, and now you're in the hills. Now you're in the high desert. It just stopped. Don't believe me? Go to Bartlesville. Trust me, you'll be like, wait a minute, what happened? Take 60 out west out of town, and it's the craziest thing you'll ever see. But it's funny. Winter comes and everybody's just as surprised this year as they were last year. A lot of the animals are coming out of the Rocky Mountains and they follow the river into Kansas. And had some huge elk and moose and stuff that come into town, and we've got mountain lions. We've got brown bears they're finding out in western Kansas. We got black bears in eastern Kansas. So that's a good time. Everybody kept denying that there were mountain lions in Kansas, and everybody was taking pictures of them. And no, that's not real. Of course, it's real. They killed their neighbor's cow. But I do like. You ever get a chance to drive through southeastern Ohio? That's pretty wild. West Virginia is interesting. There's no flat spots there. That whole state was built on a hill. That's why everybody comes out from there. Comes out west and's got a limp because one leg's longer than the other. So, but yeah, I'd be interested in hearing about some of your guys' wild rides one of these days. Some neat trips you went. 4 states I haven't been to yet: Alaska, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And I thought about going to Maine this year when I went out to the Air Force Museum and all that. I had a little extra time, and I did the math, and 14-hour drive, a good hard drive up the coast, I could have been in Maine. If I had left early in the morning, I could have been in Maine that night. And I thought about doing it. I just didn't. Chillicothe's a wild place. They got a wild biker rally there every year. I highly advise don't ever take your family there. But I figured going through Maine this year, it was just too much. I needed to get back to work. And so I ended up not doing it. I thought if I wasn't going to do Power Tour this next year, I would probably head out. I got a friend of mine in Winchester, Virginia. Very, very good friend, very old friend from way back when. Known him for, good grief, 35 years. I know it's just shy of 40. I know that. Known him a long time. Anyhow, 30, 34 years, I guess. Yeah, he's out there now, and so I'd really like to get out there. And I know if I go see him, and they're on the border of Virginia and Maryland, I might just shoot up there. I mean, he was originally from Manassas, a redneck from Manassas. It was a funny deal. He's one of those guys that you're going to get in a lot of trouble with, but you're going to have a lot of fun getting in trouble with him. I mean, that's how I ended up with a tattoo. Uh, yeah, I told him next time I see him, because we lost touch for about 20, 25 years, and I finally found him. And I said, when I get up there, I said, we're going to get this tattoo fixed. I got it when I was 16. So I said, yeah, we're gonna get this tattoo fixed. So that's something to look forward to, and it's the only one I've ever gotten, the only one I ever will get. And when I see him next time, we're gonna get it fixed. That's just kind of the deal. But sometimes you have to. It's good to have goals. I hope you guys are gonna. If you can get home for Christmas, I hope you guys get home for Christmas. I hope you guys have a good Christmas. Hope you all have good families to spend it with. I think everybody, all three of them in my family. I don't have a family left. They're pretty much all gone for the most part. Uh, so my stepmom's going to be out with my sister, I think, and or my brother down in Oklahoma City, and uh, that's kind of what I was thinking about working. There's just nothing to do. I mean, I go down to the bar and say hi to all the drunks. Bar will be open, but I don't drink anymore. No point in being at the bar if I'm not drinking. But I hope you guys get home for that. I hope it's good. Take advantage of these times. Just take advantage of these times that you get, because they don't last very long. They go away a lot quicker than you realize. I got the TV on mute. I should have turned it off. Old Barney's trying to fight with Ernest T. Bass. He put his one bolt. Oh, good grief, Barney. Anyhow, uh, so, but I got some interesting projects lined up for the next this next year. Hopefully, I know I've done a lot of videos just about driving to this place and that place, and truthfully, I'm trying to find new things and interesting things to talk about. You just don't want to keep rehashing the same things over and over and over again, because, well, that just gets kind of, it just, there's no point in it. I was thinking about talking about some of the news stuff and all that, but what's the point of that? You know, here's a, you sit there and you talk about all the stuff that's going on in trucking in the news, and it's just depressing, honestly. Like, a lot of the stuff that's going on shouldn't have happened in the first place. And we're sitting there dealing with the aftermath. I was talking to the guy that runs the other YouTube channel called Trucking Resources, Rob Finch. He's a good guy. He there's a lot of history videos on trucking. If you like old trucking history, company history, he's your guy. He does some phenomenal stuff. But we were talking the other night about deregulation, and there's so many different facets to it. And this is why him and I, neither have I have ever done a video on deregulation. Is it's so complex. Regulation, we don't know now. We don't know if we're better now than we were, or if we were better then than we are now. Because in some ways we are, in some ways we aren't. And we just can't really come to a, me and him are sitting there hammering this out going, wait, we just don't know. It's just the consequences of regulation. In some ways were good, some ways were bad. The unintended consequences of deregulation were absolutely horrible. But then you turn around, and what I think deregulation was designed to do was basically destroy the Teamsters. So was that a good idea? I can't answer that. You know, you start talking about, the 80s, the 70s into the 80s with the mob. It was the heyday of the mob, and eventually I think the Teamsters would have been, the mob would have been run out of the Teamsters eventually anyways, at least by the mid 90s. But it's just such a multifaceted thing. I mean, well, yeah, politicians. It's very Machiavellian. So, and then you start looking at the history of Jimmy Hoffa. Was he actually a good guy? Did he do good things? Some guys say yes, some guys say no. I mean, he used the Union Pension Fund to build Las Vegas. But then again, he was a guy with no vices. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't run around on his wife. He was a family man, loved his kids. But he got in bed with the mob. So that's why one of the reasons why we've never done a video on deregulation is just there's no easy way to do it. It's just there's no right answer. Trucking Resources had two videos that I really resonated with me. One was about Prime, and one was about Time DC. And these were two companies that got hit by the deregulation of trucking. Well, Time DC went headlong with the Teamsters, and Prime ended up going, we've got to revamp. And they went this way. They went independent. And it's an interesting concept when you see two guys that are in the same exact spot at the same exact moment, and one went this way and one went this way. Well, what I realized was this guy from Time DC, he needed to change with the times, and the guy from Prime, he did. And Prime is a really interesting company if you really go back and search the history of it. Like I said, he went and did a really neat video on it. That Trucking Resources, if you ever get to listen to it, it's actually it's a really interesting. He does some really interesting history stuff. But then you start when you get into a lot of this trucking, and it eventually leads into politics, and unfortunately, politics is in everything we do. Quite seriously, it's in everything. And it's maddening. It's absolutely maddening just because, you're like, I don't need this. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Every political decision that's made on a whim affects us in one way or another. So it kind of, see, that's part of why I don't do political videos, just because there's enough guys doing it, and that's not really what I want to be about. I know where I stand politically. I know what I believe in, and I know some of you guys agree with it. Some of you guys don't. But at the end of the day, we're all still truck drivers. We're all out here trying to do the thing, and we're all still out here trying to make money. I mean, and you may not like who I voted for, or I may not like who you voted for, but you're still parked right next to me at the dock. The same guys are unloading your truck that are unloading my truck. So we got a lot more in common than you think. It just there's too many other guys doing it. I thought about doing something on the illegal immigration and the non-domicile guys, and I said, I just it's awful. If you guys spend enough time up in Minnesota, and it's not a joke up there. Um, Minneapolis is a third world country. You know, 15 years ago, I thought it was being overrun by the Russians, but the Russians got run out by the Somalis, uh, and the Somalis have turned it into the same dumpster fire they left. I want to travel outside the United States. I've traveled. I've been down to Old Mexico. I did a bunch of mission work down there, but I'd like to go to Europe one of these days. Like to go out to the Middle East and see my roots, where my mom's side of my family came from. Uh, my great grandmother was born in a cave in Syria in 1900. So that'd be interesting to see where that happened. It was in Apello, Syria. She was Armenian. So my family run all over. Uh, I've still got cousins in Armenia I've never met. Probably never will. And I'd like to go there one of these days and see them. I went out to Little Armenia in Glendale, and that was a real treat. My grandpa took us out there, and he spoke flawless Armenian. He spoke flawless Turkish too, which I found funny. And he, so we'd go out there and eat, and that's pretty much where I get my taste for all this weird food I like to cook, because I grew up eating it. Uh, but yeah, traveling outside the country, I'd like to go. I'd love to go see Russia. It's a beautiful country, from what I hear. I'd love to see some World War II stuff. Some of the museums and stuff that are over there. Uh, I think that'd be interesting. Uh, I'm not really interested in going too far into the Middle East. I would like to go to Israel. That would be very interesting. Get a guided tour of that. Uh, Maybe Greece. I love Roman architecture and stuff like that. It's Yeah, St. Petersburg is a. I've heard that. You're gonna laugh at one of the things I would love to see, and there's a YouTuber I was following, and he dubbed all the stuff into English. He quit doing it, but it's in Russia, and he actually there's a huge American car movement in Russia, and so I always thought that was funny. They love American cars over in Europe and Russia, and so it's always fun to see what they do with them over there. And I'd love to go see what they do with them over there. Uh, the guy was wanting to build an Eleanor clone in Russia, and he had an old Ford Cortina, I think it was, that he used for his base, and basically built this whole car out of fiberglass. What he ended up doing was they found one '67 Mustang in Moscow. There's one. So they get this guy, it's in a field. They actually picked it up, towed it, and then 3D scanned the entire car. And he built all of his models off this 3D scan of this one car. They said it was the only '67 Mustang fastback he could find. And it was in Moscow. He picked it up, took it to the warehouse. And mind you, some guy owns this car. He wasn't letting it go. He wasn't selling it. And they 3D scanned the whole car, and he actually built fenders and rear quarters and roof, and built this beautiful, basically Shelby Mustang. They're in Russia. Somehow he got a hold of a 302 and a Volga transmission. He showed a Russian Volga transmission will actually bolt straight up to a 302. Don't tell me they didn't copy a few things. Because a Volga transmission is a direct copy of a Fiat. Apparently, a Fiat is a direct copy of a Ford. So I'd like to see stuff like that. As we get older, I think we lose our intellectual curiosity, and if you can keep that childlike wonder alive and just want to know how things work and just want to explore and see things, I think life gets pretty good. It's my mom's father, my grandfather, he kept. Oh, we had a glitch. Yeah, he never quit learning. He just kept going and kept going and kept going, and that's what you do. And he was almost 100. I have no desire to live that long, but I think the downfall came, like I've said before, when the doctor told me I had to quit jogging at 90. So, yeah. Anyhow, well, I'm hoping if I work this Christmas, I'm hoping to get some good videos of some places I haven't been in a while or I've never recorded before, and we can get some good video out of that. So, anyhow, well, we've been at it about an hour and 9 minutes now, and so if anybody's got any questions, man, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I usually don't like making these things last more than about an hour 20, hour 30, unless we get on a roll. But if anybody's got any questions, I'll be more than happy to at least give a bold attempt. Like I said, we got an email now. So I've been there's a few things I would like to do on here. Like I used to build and restore firearms, and they YouTube, the algorithm doesn't like that, and excuse me, so I just never did that. I've restored some very, very nice vintage World War One and World War Two rifles. The hardest one I ever restored, I had a Type 99 first run Japanese Arisaka, and it had a 7.7 by 58 cartridge. It was very, they don't, those cartridges are almost impossible to find now. But I restored it. I found one that was hand carried over by a soldier because the ones that came over had the Imperial Japanese crest ground off them, and this was still on there. And I went and completely restored the entire rifle. It came out beautiful. I actually got some really good money for it. Restored a vintage 303 World War One rifle, and I actually donated that to a veterans charity. And that was auctioned off in a raffle. So then I had one of those. It just sat around, and I ended up trading it back off. An old Mauser. What else did I restore? Oh, I had a British Lend-Lease. It was a 1903 A1. It was one of the first runs from 1942. It was still milled. It wasn't stamped. It wasn't an A3. It was an A1. It was made by Remington instead of Springfield. And back then, Springfield made them, Remington made them, Smith Corona made them, Coca-Cola made them. A bunch of people made. International Harvester actually made a few too. Now, if you can find an old Mazda Nagant that was made by Westinghouse, you're sitting on some real money there. But back in the time of the czars, before they were overthrown by the communists, they were friendly with the United States, and they bought a lot of weapons from the United States from like Smith and Wesson. They were big into their revolvers, and we made a bunch of Mazda Nagants for them in World War One. If you can find an actual Westinghouse, that's worth some money. Or if you can find a Mazda Nagant that still has the Peter the Great symbol on it. I found one time, and somebody didn't know what it was, and they had drilled and tapped it for a scope. So they took a $2,000 rifle and made it a $50 rifle. It was really sad. So yeah, that's one of the other things that I have built a lot. I built a bunch of ARs, built a bunch of AKs. Those were interesting because you have to press them apart and basically rivet them together, and you can hand rivet them, or you can actually use presses. We used both. Yeah, anything for the war effort. So made some 45s, made an Uzi. You got to have fun. But, my business for that never came to fruition, so I ended up selling most of all my tooling and all my stuff. And I'd still love to do a bunch of that stuff online, but like I said, YouTube doesn't like it. So I thought about putting another channel on another platform, but it's pretty hard. And truthfully, keeping multiple platforms going. Like I said, I've got a YouTube, I've got a Rumble, I've got a TikTok, and I don't keep up with. I keep up with the YouTube, and I don't keep up with either of the any of the other stuff. It's just too hard to keep up with because, well, I've got a real job. Uh, truthfully, I just like restoring things. I like making old things new again, and it doesn't really matter what it is. I've restored a lot of stuff. Uh, Redone furniture, redone cars, redone. Uh, I'll fix anything I think I can fix. So just why not? I give something a little bit more life. It's worth it to me. So. Uh, Anyhow, any other questions? I mean, we got a few more minutes. I'll be on here. Gonna Said hopefully when I get my truck back tomorrow, we'll uh, be going someplace interesting. So, well, it's not even that they try to call anybody anymore. They Everything's made to be thrown away. Am I done trucking for the year? Not just yet. I usually it's when I go home for Christmas. I just stay gone, uh, and it'll all depend on what when I talk to them tomorrow about being home for Christmas or not. Because if I go home for Christmas, I just stay home for the. Like I said, I'm not joking. I stay home for the rest of the year. There's no point in it after that. Um, I, I got on a Lyft today. That ride share thing. I rode in a Tesla for the very first time. I'll tell you what, that was trippy. Um, yeah, without the engine, you kind of hear all the noise from the tires and the motor, and it was pretty trippy. It was a little Model Y. It had a whole panoramic roof. It was really wild. I can't even imagine how much it costs to replace that roof if it gets broke. Probably totals out the car, honestly. Asked the guy about it. He says he charges it up at night, and he says costs him about $6 to fill it up, and he says he can run for 8 hours doing a ride share with it. I asked him. I said, "Well, what about during the cold?" He said that'll cut it down to 4 to 6 hours. He said, "But I could hit a supercharger and it's quick." So he says he figures he's saving quite a bit of money not having to use gasoline for his ride sharing. He does that 8 10 hours. I think that's his full time job. He does pretty well with it. So more power to him, I guess. Tesla, it was a pretty trippy car though. Hmm. So yeah. So well, we stay here for a couple more minutes if anybody's got any more questions. And this thing keeps kicking on and off. I don't know what this thing's problem is. So I think I'm on a. Mm, yeah, those Teslas are really fast. Well, that I was sitting there. You ever watch Farm Trucking Asian? I got the shirt, but on one of their Discovery shows, they've actually built an electric dragster, and they were talking about the torque on that. They said the thing had 300 foot-pounds of torque at 1 RPM, and I was like, "Good night!" It's just boom, and when you can put the uh, power down that fast and that hard, uh, there's no buildup, there's no leg, your response time is just unreal. And so, yeah, I found that phenomenal. That you actually can get just that fast with that much torque. Like a lot of these guys with these semi trucks, everybody talks about how much horsepower they got, but I'm gonna tell you right now, 1,000 horsepower don't mean crap if you can't put it to the ground. Um, so if you got 1,000 horsepower and you can't get it to the ground, all you're gonna do is blow up your engine. Uh, and truthfully, these new trucks, my truck's got 450 horse, and it's a high torque engine, but I'll tell you right now, you hit it just right, that thing won't walk straight up a hill. It's the weirdest thing. It's like it'll put it down when it needs it. Uh, no matter what everybody says, even with these emission systems, these trucks are getting better. And they're getting way better. And from where they were 10 years ago, these things are light years ahead. Um, you know, they're to the point where they're so good that deleting a truck is almost not even a thing anymore, because they are getting that good. Uh, so, oh, well, Gomer Pyle and Barney Fife just lost a goat. I think this may be the one where the goat ate all the dynamite. Had an explosive goat. But well, yeah, I'm thinking about like I said earlier, a 389. If I find the right deal, and it has to be the right deal on the right truck, or it's not even. It's because it's really for the most part off the issue, but it's gonna be a 579. Those things have been just they're proving their worth, and they're good trucks, and they have great room and great storage, and guys are really liking them. As much as I hate to say this, it's going to be a Cummins engine for sure. But I'm kind of starting to be open to an automatic. Much I hate to admit that. Um, the automatics have come a long way. Uh, what's weird is, the Freightliner and Pete use basically the same transmission. It's just Freightliner puts their stuff on top and Pete puts their stuff on top. And the Pete stuff at this point is better. But I might stick to a manual for one more truck. But the older I get, and I'm not going to lie, the older I get, just not shifting sounds nice. I mean, back in the day, I drive up and down Cicero at 3 o'clock in Chicago with a stick. I went all the way from basically, what was it, Central and Cicero, all the way to I-80 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and man, your calf will be bleeding when you're done. I mean, it is you're just on that clutch, just trying to get that thing to move through town. And if I was in town all the time and I was doing a lot of city driving, an automatic would be it. Yes, guys who do city driving, automatics the way to go. You lose the love affair with a stick shift and with city driving real quick. So anyhow, well, another couple of minutes and we're gonna hang it up. So, anybody's got anything else? Well, I sure hope. Well, I got to figure out what I'm doing for Christmas. Well, I appreciate you guys, the guys that showed up and the guys that stuck around. It's I should probably, I've advertised these lives, Shannon premieres versus just going on, and it's really made no difference. So sometimes I just get a, want to have to get one here in a minute. Sometimes I just have to, I just throw one out and just do an impromptu and call it good. But we'll be back on the road tomorrow, so I'm kind of excited about that. So, well, with that, guys, you guys have a good Christmas if I don't see you then, and we will we'll see you next video, I guess. I got one coming out in a couple of days that's ready to go, and just uploaded one today. I try to keep one or two in the bank. I've got one I need to do. I caught it on my dash cam, and y'all are going to find this one funny. It'll be just like a little extra thing. These guys roll into truck stops and have these rolling craps games, and I got the whole thing. Well, I realized I'd seen these guys before. I saw them at another truck stop up north doing the same thing. Same guys. And it was really fun. I mean, it was really sad. They robbed a bunch of guys. They stole a bunch of money. But the way they did it was so slick. And they had the main guy, they had a barker, they had the bait and switch, it was choreographed like a Broadway show. And I got the whole thing on dash cam. And one of these days I need to just do a whole narration and zoom in and all that. Y'all would find that real funny. But look, if you're at a truck stop and there's a rolling craps game going on or anything like that, run the other way. Somebody's fitting to get robbed. Just make sure it ain't you, because these are thieves. So yeah, if anybody's doing any kind of gambling out in the parking lot or anything like that, these ain't honest people. These are crooks. They're gonna steal you for everything. They'll take your shoes if they have to. So y'all be safe out there, guys. Keep it straight, and I guess we'll catch y'all next video.